On the Trail of Petals, a Hanahaki alternate universe fanfiction, Part 8. What is that? Marinette asked. In all total honesty, she felt like fainting. This was all so scary. Dr. Tiki looked at her pretty seriously. It's a disease. However, it cannot be transmitted. The doctor put on her stethoscope and instructed Marinette to breathe deeply. All right. The good news is that you haven't had it for long. We're going to try and stop it from progressing. Marinette looked at her blankly. Okay, she said nervously. Tiki pointed to a diagram. I specialize in patients with Hanahaki's disease. It's not very rare, but it's also not very well known. Hanahaki happens when a flower begins to grow in the patient's lungs. It can grow to be very large and dangerous. The petals can become loose and oftentimes be painfully coughed out, Dr. Tiki explained. Marinette gasped. This was not turning out to be good news. In the slightest. The only plus was that she wasn't going to turn into a gigantic flower. But bad news, she now had a flower growing in her chest. And that's what's happening to me? Marinette asked. Tiki placed a counseling hand on her shoulder. There is a cure. There is actually two. One of them is much easier to come by. However, there are some unsavory side effects, and the second one is the ideal cure. But it is more a game of chance on that one, Tiki said. Marinette let out a breath of relief. A cure. Always good news when you're told you have a malignant disease. Why do I have it? What did I do? Marinette asked her. She wrung her hands nervously. It isn't anything you did do. It's an unfortunate game of chance. Hanahaki forms from unrequited love. Unrequited love? No! Marinette didn't love anyone. Not anymore. She and Luca were long separated and Adrian? Okay, he was just a crush. That was it. That was all it. That can't be. I'm not in love with anyone, Marinette said in a rush. Tiki smiled sympathetically. Sometimes we don't realize we're in love until it's too late. Tiki brought out a diagram from somewhere. It seemed to have started in your right lung, which means we have more time as the flower will need to grow to puncture the heart. However, it doesn't mean that we have all the time in the world. The ideal cure is for the love to be returned. They need to admit that they love you in a romantic sense. Platonic will not work. It also needs to be true. They can't just say they're in love with you just to save you. They really need to be, Tiki explained. Marinette shook her head fervently. No way! He was seeing someone, and technically he was the only one she could be in love with. I can't. They're seeing someone, Marinette said mournfully. Tiki eyed her. How long has this been going on? 2 weeks or so? When did they start seeing each other? 2.5 weeks ago. He told me and our friends. Tiki nodded and scribbled something down on her clipboard. Probably what spurred it on, Tiki muttered. All right, there is a second cure. but we normally reserve it for extreme cases. There are a lot more caveats to this cure. For one, it's expensive and slightly dangerous, as anything is when working around the heart and lungs. Secondly, there are many side effects. They can range from person to person, but they're all generally the same. In a situation when you're severely compromised, we'll surgically remove the flower base from your lungs. However, we can only do it with consent because this is a huge life-changing alteration, Tiki explained. Marinette nodded. It sort of felt like her head was spinning. An hour ago, she thought she just, had a bad cough. But now she knew that she may die because of this bad cough. Wow! Talk about dramatics. It certainly escalated quickly. What are the side effects? She asked. If she could avoid the situation of ruining a happy relationship, then she would. Tiki sighed. Removing the flower results in losing all romantic feelings, and sometimes memory. In layman's terms, you'll never be able to have romantic feelings again, and you may never be able to remember the person you loved and the memories you had with them. It would be living a life without love, Tiki said with pain. Marinette gasped. A life without love? It sounded like an empty life. Can a person get their memories back? Or their romantic feelings again, or something? The odds were not looking good. Tiki nodded, giving her some hope. It's a slim chance. But yes, some patients have overcome the side effects. However, only about 5% have regained their memories. Even less have been able to love again. Marinette looked out into the ground. It's my choice, right? If I want to live a life like that? She asked in a small voice. Tiki nodded gently. Yes, unless you're in a critical condition and certain situations arise, we will not remove the flower, Tiki confirmed. Marinette nodded. Okay, that was enough terrifying information for the day. Without another word, Marinette hopped off the table and brushed herself off, trying to look composed. Marinette, I suggest you talk to... His name is Adrian. Adrian, I suggest you talk to him. Come to an understanding. There's a lot you may not know, and it's important to have all the facts at a time like this, Tiki said with a sympathetic smile. Thanks, Doc, Marinette said, although mentally, she knew she was not going to speak a word about this Hanahaki thing to him. Tiki handed her a card. Sometimes there's no time for transferring numbers from the office. This is my personal number. Any concerns or questions I'll be sure to attend to, Tiki said. Marinette nodded and thanked her again. The moment Marinette stepped out of the hallway, she took in a deep breath. There was a strange feeling in her chest, though that may just be the flower. The lady at the check-in desk gave her a smile. She returned it politely. Upon her trip back, everything seemed different. She was now on a clock. There was a ticking time bomb in her. Literally. It wasn't like the movies where she started thinking and was willing to try it all because screw it, I'll die anyways. It was more like, wow, what is it like to just not exist? If she thought any deeper, she'd probably fly into an existential crisis. And for obvious reasons, she did not have the time to think about that. In fact, Marinette had no idea as to how much time she had, but was quite glad that she forgot to ask. She really didn't want an actual countdown looming over her head. When Marinette got home, she face-planted into her bed. Suddenly, everything was crashing down on her. It all felt like a stupid teen movie, only with a twisted plot. College students were supposed to be the ones crying that if he doesn't love me, if he doesn't love me back, then I'm gonna die. Marinette chuckled at the irony. Well, newsflash, kids, she was gonna die of unrequited love. Marinette? She heard Alia's voice as she stepped into the room. There were footsteps before her. Oh, great. Nino and Adrian were there. Wonderful. Marinette sat up and plastered on a small smile. Hey, guys. Alia sat down next to her and hugged her tight. What did the doctor say? She asked. Marinette looked at their worried faces. Alia's eyebrows were raised, Nino's lips were pursed, and Adrian just looked like a sad puppy. I'm fine, she lied. Just a weird cough. She said to drink more water and to come back in like 2 weeks. They don't know what it is either. It's not dangerous though, she said to ease their concerns. Adrian cracked a smile. So, I guess they will be naming it after you, he joked to lighten the mood. Marinette smiled through the pain. Was the flower growing? Why did it start to hurt more? Yeah, I guess so. On my way to being famous, she said. But that was a lie.